Night fighting in World War II started with a machine that proved radar before it proved itself. In July 1940, a Bristol-Blenheim Mark I F made the first successful airborne radar interception of an enemy bomber, which gave the RAF a historic first and a very inconvenient second conclusion. The system could work, the airplane still was not enough. In the first half of October 1940, radar-equipped Blenheims at Kenley flew 92 sorties, made 28 radar interceptions, and scored no kills. That was the Blenheim problem in one set of numbers. It could find the fight, but too often it could not finish it. Its legacy is real. Its shelf life as a frontline night fighter was short. The Boulton Defiant looked like a bad idea in daylight and a temporary patch in darkness. After taking heavy losses as a day fighter in 1940, it was pushed into the night role, where the second crewman and powered turret finally had a job that made practical sense. It did better there, and the type eventually equipped 13 squadrons as a night fighter, but even that success came with an expiry date. By mid-1942, better aircraft were already replacing it. The public criticism never really left the Defiant, and for good reason. The airplane survived at night because Britain had a gap to fill. It disappeared because the gap did not stay open once the Bristol Beaufighter and de Havilland Moskito arrived. This one-turned interception into a moving searchlight stunt. The Douglas Havoc 1 Turbinlite carried a 2.7 billion candela light in the nose and tried to expose German bombers for accompanying fighters, usually Hurricanes, to shoot down. RAF Turbinlite flights and squadrons actually operated it, and some of those aircraft were still cycling through those units into 1943. The numbers sounded modern, the method was prehistoric. The whole scheme demanded ground control, radar contact, formation timing, visual pickup, and a clean firing position in the same few seconds of darkness. That made it one of the most ridiculed night fighting ideas of the war. It was not replaced because the lamp was too weak. It was replaced because self-contained radar fighters made the whole choreography obsolete. America entered the night war with a stopgap that looked official and felt temporary. When the USAAF formed its first radar-equipped night fighter squadron in January 1943, the only American aircraft available was the makeshift Douglas P-70 Nighthawk, a converted A-20 bomber carrying the United States version of British Mark IV radar. That is the core of its story. The first American squadrons trained on the P-70 then went to war in the more capable Bristol Beaufighter. The real U.S. answer did not arrive until the Northrop P-61 Black Widow, the first American aircraft designed from the start for night fighting. The P-70 was useful, but in the way scaffolding is useful. It helped build the force, then got out of the frame. The Dornier Do 217N carried Germany's bomber baggage into a fighter job that demanded speed, climb, and agility. It was created after the Do 217J disappointed, and the first prototype of the N model flew on 31 July 1942 with more powerful DB603 engines. The extra power helped, but not enough. Contemporary histories still describe the type as unpopular because it remained heavy, climbed poorly, handled badly, and suffered engine trouble. Production ended at the close of 1943, and 207 Do 217J and N night fighters were delivered that year. Even that production total tells the story. The Luftwaffe built enough to keep the type in the system, but no group relied on the Dornier alone as its true night fighting answer. The Do 217N served because Germany needed aircraft. It never became the aircraft Germany wanted. The Heinkel H219 Uhu is the most dangerous aircraft on this list and one of the clearest failures in strategic terms. The prototype flew on 15 November 1942. Pre-production aircraft reached 1/NJG-1 in April 1943. On the first operational mission, on the night of 11 to 12 June 1943, Major Werner Streib used one to shoot down 5 RAF bombers. The airplane had speed, radar, heavy armament, ejection seats, and the kind of crew reputation most wartime designs never get. It also had the wrong timing, the wrong politics, and nowhere near enough mass. The program was canceled in May 1944. Only 294 were built, and 268 entered service. The HE-219 became famous because it looked like the answer. It still failed because a brilliant night fighter in double-digit serviceability could not rescue a collapsing air defense system. The Focke-Wulf Ta 154 Moskito was Germany trying to answer the de Havilland Moskito with speed, wood, and industrial wishful thinking. The first prototype flew on 1 July 1943, and by March 1944, planners were already talking about output climbing to 250 aircraft a month by November. That target collapsed under engine shortages, labor pressure, and one of the most notorious material failures of the war. The wooden airframe depended on Tego film adhesive, and when the production source was destroyed, substitute glues triggered structural failures. Production stopped in August 1944, and the program was canceled the next month. Only 28 were built in total. That is why the Ta 154 still gets talked about with equal parts fascination and mockery. It looked like a fast solution. It turned into a supply chain disaster with wings. By the time the Junkers Ju-388J appeared, Germany was engineering for a future that the war no longer allowed. The Ju-388 family first flew on 22 December 1943 and entered service only in late 1944. Roughly 100 were built across all versions, and the Luftwaffe received only 23 into service. That is tiny production for a machine meant to matter in the final air defense phase of the Reich. The Ju-388 was pressurized, cleaner, and aimed at high-altitude work, which made it look like a proper late-war answer on paper. Even the procurement logic behind the HE-219 cancellation leaned toward the Ju-388 and Ta 154 as supposedly easier-to-build replacements. In reality, neither became a combat-saving solution. The Ju-388J represents the last form of night fighter failure in the war. The design was modern. The calendar was terminal. Britain, America, and Germany all ran into the same night war trap. The threat moved faster than the aircraft, and the aircraft that arrived on time were usually compromised machines. The aircraft that actually won the night war are a different story, so click the next video and watch the other side of the World War II night fighter story.